or even order some flowers for oneself or for a loved one. On this Singles Awareness or Appreciation Day, many people wear green, considering that it is the complementary opposite of red. Another popular option is the absence of color, wear black, symbolizing an absence of celebration. Mandy Haley tells us, quote, single is no longer a lack of options, but a choice to refuse to let your life be defined by your relationship status, but to live ever happily and let your ever after work itself out, end of quote. Whatever we may think, being single has nothing to do with being left-handed, the topic of our discussion this Sunday. Yes, single attitudes don't matter, but being left-handed is something that worries some parents, worries some children, worries some schools or people in schools, and people think that being left-handed is something. So what is single-handedness in child growth and development all about is the topic we're handling this afternoon or this evening, depending on your part of the world. Experts tell us that approximately 10% of people in the world are left-handed, a trait linked to unique brain structures, creativity, and certain advantages in sports and problem solving. We will leave that to our main guest in today's discussion because she is fit for it. She's prepared for it. So here is the chair of Africa Online Media Corporation, Her Highness Reverend Palm, to usher in, welcome, and introduce that guest and the rest of us to today's discussion. Reverend Palm, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nia Song. And it looks like you ate a lot of chocolates last night and polished plantains. Isn't that the Bangwa staple? You are glowing, even though your head is a bit cut off. So on behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I really want to appreciate you, Nia Song. We've been doing this for 10 years next month. We only missed one show when all three of us were indisposed. So that is faithfulness for something that we are just trying to raise awareness about issues that affect our people and seek solutions to those issues and hopefully make progress. Let me apologize. I'm not sure why I was having technical difficulties. I tried to start the stream. Ambassador Lisa, I wasn't sure if you saw the YouTube, but when I went back to YouTube, it wasn't on. So I think we missed the first few seconds, but no problem. I'm also recording it. I want to appreciate you, my beautiful sister, Ambassador Lisa, for your faithfulness. Our beauty queen, Dr. Crosslin, you are, it looks like I just appreciated Ambassador Lisa and I don't know what happened to her image. Okay, there she goes. I thought she took off. But so Ambassador Lisa, did you want me to appreciate you in my dialect? or in Ugandan, is it Swahili? They speak there. I don't know how to speak that. But Dr. Crosslin, you are welcome. You are a regular contributor. Our sister who has been missing in action, Dr. Mata, you are welcome. I think you are across the Atlantic. And I see General Muti. I think this is your first time on behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation. I want to welcome you. And to all our viewers, those who are watching live on YouTube, those who are going to watch on Facebook, and those who are going to watch before the rapture, you are welcome to this program. And to our beautiful, intelligent, amazing sister and special guest today. This is her first time on Africa Online, but it will not be her last time, Dr. Benedict Kilo. Ladies and gentlemen, perk up your ears. Your life will not remain the same after this 90 minutes. This is our airtime, so if we need to extend it a little bit, we will. But get ready. I recently met this young brain box just a couple of weeks ago, and I had a meeting with her last week. I'm like, you know what? This topic came up. I said, you have to be on this program. She changed her schedule around to be here to share her experience, personal experience and professional experience on this topic. This is a topic that we have never discussed on this program. So I am really, really excited. Dr. Kilo, I would like for you to take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers, because this is the first time coming on this program. And then we'll hand back over to the anchors. I mentioned earlier, this show is unscripted. So I want you to be warmly welcome. This is home. It's your first time, but it will not be your last time. You have a lot of, you are a walking archive of information, and we would like for you to be part of this program. Not just today, we are here every Sunday, come rain, come shine. Even during the pandemic, we were here. So the mic is yours, Dr. Kilo.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you can't hear me, please just raise your hand because I am typically very soft-spoken.
That's okay.
Now, when it comes to introducing myself, that is usually the hardest thing for me to do because I wear too many hats. I'm not sure which one to pull out and show up at the front and which one to leave back. And so, it is my pleasure being here today for sure. But I am Dr. Bernadette Kilo, and I am Cameroonian of origin. I am a physician, and I work as an autism spectrum disorder clinical coordinator, as well as a consultant for a prominent medical group here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am also, one of the things I like to introduce myself as is I'm the mother of Braylon, Bradley, and Brianna Kilo, commonly known as the 3Bs. They are my CEOs, and they're the reason behind the 3Bs Global Autism Consulting Group. So I work for them. That is because I am the proud mother of 3 autistic children. And I definitely do my best not only to advocate, but to raise awareness so that I can empower other parents who look like me and who have challenges that I am very too familiar with coming from another country as an immigrant, and how to navigate not only the educational system, but also the medical institutions. And so those are some of the common challenges, but also the stigma that comes with it and understanding what truly autism spectrum disorder is. So that's the hat. And I wear that as well as all the other things I do locally. And when I say locally, that is nationally within the US. I do raise awareness and do consultancy in the US as well as internationally, Nigeria, Ghana, and Cameroon. I think that will briefly sum it up for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that is just a tip of the iceberg, but with time, she's going to put her information in the chat box if you want to read about her. You'll be able to read up on her. Ambassador Lisa, I'm going to go to you, but I'm telling you this topic today, our sister is going to blow our mind away. And Dr. Kilo, by the way, after working with Ambassador Lisa for 100 years on this program, I just found out last Sunday that she's left-handed. I did not know that. So Ambassador Lisa, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. Dr. Kilo, it's such an honor to meet you. I know we're supposed to be talking about left-handedness and what parents need to know about developing or having children with left-handedness. As Reverend Pam said, I'm left-handed, been left-handed since birth. Fortunately, I would say fortunately, I was born here in the United States, as opposed to being born in Africa, where they forced the children, where they popped the children, where they caned the children for reaching with their left hand and forcing them to be right-handed. I happen to have been in Nigeria, and I was giving out gifts to the children, and the children were approaching me, and some of them were reaching with their left hand, and the teacher started caning them. I had to stop what I was doing and tell my host, I said, if another teacher pops another child, we are going to have a fight. And I asked the teacher, said, tell me why you are popping these children. Well, they're reaching with their left-handed. I said, let me ask you a couple questions. I said, do you have clean running water outside? Yes. I said, are the children washing their hands before they eat? Yeah, I said, then why are you forcing them to use their left hand when they're no longer using their left hand to take care of their personal hygiene needs? And they were looking at me like, um, they couldn't even explain to me why they were still forcing kids in the 21st century to use their right hand when they had clean running water and the left hand was not being used as it was previously. So I want to hear from you. I don't want to start asking questions, but we want to hear from you. What is it about left-handedness? What is that parents should know? As I said earlier in my opening, left-handed people operate from the right side of their brain. So tell us what it is that we should know. What parents, especially our parents on the continent, because this program is not only for those of us in diaspora, it's for those of us that are on the continent as well. So what is it that our parents on the continent, especially the teachers, they need to know about children who are already born left-handed?
When I was growing up, was that to me or to
No,
our guest?
that's for Dr. Kilo.
Oh, okay, Dr. Killis, for you.
Absolutely. So I will like to go through a series of things, and then after that, I will just leave it open for a back and forth discussion and any questions, if that is okay with the team.
For sure.
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, let me thank everyone who has tuned in and who is watching for taking the time to be here today. We are here to talk about a subject that's very common, but yet is often misunderstood, which is left-handedness. Now, many of us grew up hearing things like use your right hand. That left hand is dirty, it's sinful, it's disrespectful. And also, we also grew up hearing that if you write with your left hand, you will have problems.
Wow.
Some of us were corrected gently, some were corrected harshly, and some of us still carry emotional memories from that experience. Today's discussion is not about blaming parents or culture. It is about understanding what science has known and how we can raise healthy, confident children while still respecting our cultural values. By the end of this talk, you will understand what left-handedness really is, how it affects child development, the impact of forcing a child to change hands, and what parents should do and not do. And I'm not going to limit this to parents, but also educators and community leaders. And these community leaders will also include our educators and pastors, priests, as well as some doctors. Now, what is left-handedness? Left-handedness just simply means that a person naturally prefers to use their left hand for everyday tasks. I want to reiterate everyday task, such as writing, eating, just throwing or playing, and brushing their teeth. About 10 to 12% of the population worldwide are left-handed. That means that in every church, in every classroom, and in every family, you're likely to find a left-handed child. Some important facts to remember is that left-handedness, it's natural. That's a natural variation. It is not a disease. You can't catch it from another person. So if you put your child next to another left-handed child, the other child does not automatically become left-handed because they contracted it from another child. It is not caused by bad parenting. Neither is it a spiritual problem. Most scientists agree that handedness is influenced by genetics, so it runs in the family. Therefore, if there is a left-handed child in the family, somewhere along the generational line, there was an individual who was left-handed. It doesn't matter if the person was forced to be right-handed. It doesn't change the genetic of it, okay? And then scientists also agree that handedness is influenced by brain development before the child is born. So before the child comes into this world, how the brain is wired in utero, that means when the child is in the mother's womb, once that happens, it's happened. So once left-handedness is wired in that way, then the child will come out left-handed. A child does not choose to be left-handed. Just as they don't choose their height, they don't choose the color of their skin, neither do they choose the color of their eyes. Now, to understand left-handedness, we must understand the brain. The brain has two sides. I remember when I said the brain has two sides, I had a parent who looked at me and said, wait, you have one head. Yes, you see the head. They're like, how does the brain have two sides? Well, you have one brain in that one head, but that brain is split in half. There are two sides to it. It has a left side and a right side. Each side of the brain controls the opposite side of the body. That means your right brain controls the left side of your body. The left brain controls the right side of your body. And so when a child consistently uses one hand, in other words, we will call it when a child consistently express dominance for one hand, it means that the brain has organized itself naturally. That's it. So the brain actually wired itself in that way so that the child will either be left hand dominant or right hand dominant. I have to stress that so you can actually understand when we get to the area or the part where the child gets forced to use the opposite hand. Now, why does this matter? Hand preference is connected to language development, coordination, writing skills, and confidence. When we force a child to switch hands, we are asking the brain to work against its natural wiring. That is absolutely damaging in every form and fashion. This can confuse the brain, especially in young children whose brains are still developing. The window of opportunity for a child to learn most things faster. I'm not saying after the age I'm going to list means that they can learn, but there is the window of opportunity, which we call the window of neuroplasticity. This is the point at which when you teach a child something, they're able to just absorb it, okay? From 0 to 5. Usually, hand dominance is expressed between age 3 and 6. So by that time, it is firm that the child is going to be or is left-handed, or if the child is right-handed. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is by age 5, a child does not have a hand dominance. These are kids that will constantly use both left and right. Two things could happen. That child could eventually become ambidextrous, but that is also the key and the clue that the child is developing, there's a developmental delay. Okay.
Wow.
It doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. It's not bad, but it's just that the brain hasn't definitely finished its process of having the child determine dominance so that we can see that preference. Now, some cultural beliefs. In many African cultures, the right hand is associated with respect, cleanliness, and honor. The left hand may be associated with disrespect or impurity. These beliefs are cultural, not biological. It is important to understand that culture only explains customs. It does not explain brain development. This is where we have challenges. When we separate that, we start thinking that the child is being disrespectful. No. Culture explains custom, not brain development. So a child using their left hand is not being disrespectful. They're simply following how their brain works. It is important to distinguish or to make the distinction that teaching manners is a good thing. As parents, as community leaders, as custodians of the culture, we must teach the child what are good manners. Changing a child's natural development is harmful, which is why forcing a child to switch hands is not the best option. Of course, we want to teach the child that yes, when you come into a certain space, it is respectful that we greet the elders with our right hand. That is different from making sure that that child only eats, take care of their basic needs and rights with the right hand. So we're forcing the child to do those. These are tasks that the child has to complete every day. This child is not meeting the chief or meeting the royalties every single day to greet them with their right hand. No, that comes once in a while. So it is okay to teach good manners based on your culture. So I want you to understand that we can accept left-handedness and still respect our culture.
Sure. Awesome.
So a child can be taught to greet their elders respectfully. It has to be both ways. The elders needs to understand that just because a child greeted them respectfully and they have to sit at the table and the child eats with their left hand, elders need to accept too. See where both things have to come in play? We have to find common ground. Okay? And to understand cultural expectations, we have to teach the children how to understand cultural expectations so they are ready. This point is very important for advocacy. I have seen children in homes where that has happened just because they greeted someone with their right hand and they had to sit down to eat. They got yelled at because they were like, wait, you just used your right hand. That means you can use your right hand to eat.
Mhm.
We have to teach them to advocate for themselves. Yes, I did that because out of respect, but I am by nature left-handed. Okay. So we
This is
don't have to force them to write with the wrong hand, the hand that is not dominant. We don't have to force them to do that. And we don't have to force them to eat unnaturally. This causes them to feel ashamed of who they are. Now, what happens when a child is forced to change hands? This one is the most important part for today's talk. Research and child psychologists have found that forcing a left-handed child to switch can lead to learning difficulties. There's usually poor handwriting, which can last up to adulthood. I have seen it firsthand. Slow reading. They have challenges with reading, and they have trouble concentrating. Some parents don't even put two and two together. You have a child who has shown left hand dominance. You spend your entire time trying to fix that by correcting the child and say, forcing them to use their right hand. Then once they get to like first grade, second grade, they start having behavioral issues. And then you're asking yourself, why is this child having issues? Oh, they start saying, well, my child can't focus. They're having difficulty concentrating. They're having issues learning. Well, guess what? They slap on a diagnosis of learning difficulties or learning disorder.
Well, so now I don't
Yeah.
have to do that.
And then they eventually get to medicate the child. You see how you are causing a snowballing of events here when we do that? I hope this resonates to a certain extent. The other issue that a child could develop if we force them to switch hand is speech problems. I have seen a child stammer and stutter just because of that. And then they also have a delayed speech development. Please, I want us to understand that speaking and speaking is totally different from communicating. Okay. Now, the prerequisite for verbal communication is speaking and speeching. Therefore, if your child has challenge with speech and language acquisition, they're more likely to have challenges with verbally expressive communication. The multiple domains under that, that will be a subject for another time, okay? And then there's also the issue of emotional effects. They develop low self-esteem, anxiety, fear of making mistakes, and feeling wrong or bad. Behavioral problems could also come into place. You see children who get frustrated, they become withdrawn, there's anger, and there's even refusal to write or learn. They don't feel motivated to do anything. They don't, especially in the school setting. And that is because of that change. It's very difficult. What you've done is you're telling the brain to rewire itself. It's hard. Many adults who struggle with confidence today can trace it as far back as when they were being shamed or punished for being left-handed as children. This does not mean that parents intended harm. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. But now you know. And so we must do better once we acquire knowledge. So left-handedness and intelligence, the myth was that left-handed people had lower intelligence, and that comes from historical times. This is not true. Left-handed children are not less intelligent, and they're not slow learners. In fact, many scientists, artists, leaders, and athletes are left-handed. Case in point, one of the former US presidents, number 44, is left-handed. Barack Obama. Okay. Left-handed children often show strong creativity. That creativity aspect is key. I've worked with a lot of left-handed people, and trust and believe me, when it comes to creativity, they are on point. And problem-solving skills, that area is their biggest strength. And there's a reason for that, okay? Remember I said the two sides of the brain control the two opposite sides of the body. Now, when it comes to language, there is one part of the brain where language development is highly focused in. So that center is highly is prevalent for language. That's the left side of the brain. When you are right-handed, you have no flexibility. You are fixed on that left side of the brain. When you are left-handed, here's the difference. You do have the flexibility when it comes to language development because you're not only restricted to the left side of the brain, so you can see things from multiple perspectives. That's what I'm trying to say here, because you have not only the left side center, but you also have the right side of the brain, which controls the left side of your body. And so a lot of times things will ping to the right side before, or for you to process it before you verbalize it or say it or do it or draw it out. Okay. And if we had to talk to our Christians who are present, keep in mind that in the book of Judges, chapter 20, verse 16, it says that among all these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed, of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. That is accuracy beyond measure. To have 700 people, these are 700 great people. They were soldiers, and they could do that. That is phenomenal. Now, this verse highlights left-handed men as skilled and exceptional warriors. Their left-handedness is presented as a strength and not a flaw. And you can also see left-handed notable leaders in the Bible in Judges 3:15. In Ehud, who was a left-handed man raised up by God as a deliverer for Israel. I usually call him the UPS before UPS came. Can you imagine having to run from one village or one town to another to take news? You had to carry the mail. And he did it all with his left hand. He used his left hand to deliver mail. That's what he was good at doing. And he did it at such rapid speed that no one could understand. So there you go. UPS before UPS. The key difference
Wow.
in all of these cases is the support, okay? We must support left-handed children so that they can thrive. A suppressed left-handed child struggles. Now, how can parents support left-handed children? Here's the practical part of it. What parents should do. It's very simple. Observe. Do not rush. Hand preference becomes clear between the ages of 3 to 6, like I mentioned. Give the child their time. And so what if they become left-handed? It is not a bad thing. It is not a curse. It is not a spiritual problem. They are not of low intelligence. I just explained why they have a better advantage. It is best to be able, you have two sides of the brain, and you're only using one as a right-handed person for the most part when it comes to processing language. And here you are having a left-handed person who's using both sides of the brain to process language. Tell me who's most efficient. You have two machines that are running at the same time. So think about it. Who's most efficient? So observe, don't rush. Allow the child to use their preferred hand, especially for things like writing, drawing, eating, just doing their everyday task. Allow them to do that. Protect the child from shame. Avoid using words like that hand is bad or slapping the child on the hand constantly. Stop using that hand or telling the child you will bring shame. I went to observe a family. I went in to see to do an observation for a child who they had concerns about the development of the child and they had questions. Hey, is this autism or not? We're not sure. And I go into the home and I went for the brother, so he was the first, and the youngest sibling is a sister. And I noticed that um the first time the child walked into the living room and handed something to her mother, she used her left hand. She was 2 years old and she used her left hand. And the mother said, no, use your right hand. First, I sat and I wanted to observe. I don't want to jump in too quickly. And so I observed, and the child isn't sure what to do. And the mother is insisting. So the mother takes her hand, moves the object to the right hand, releases the left hand, and then, prompts the child to put her right hand forward to hand her the object. And the child does it, and then she takes it. Less than a few minutes, the child goes back, is playing with her toys, comes back again, and she needs help. Guess what hand she brings the item in? Left hand. Yes. She brings it again in the left hand. And this time the mom is like, what have I told you about that left hand? I was like, whoa. I had to stop her. And I said, what's the issue with the child's left hand? And the mom was quiet. I said, well, tell me, what is the issue with the child's left hand is what I need to know. And she's like, I think that was when she realized and she smiled. I said, no, you're not going to do that to this child. Absolutely not. I hate the fact that I had to break it to her in a different way, but I'm glad I did it because even though I went for one child, I saw a challenge in the second one. But I had to teach her that if you accept this particular one that you're trying to break, then you will accept the others that are ongoing. So I told her, you are doing damage to that child by trying to push her. But this mom could not explain to me why she had to force that child to switch hands. She was parenting from memory, something I spoke about before at one of my other talks, that a lot of us are parenting from memory. We parent from the aspect of how we were parented. And so we think that this is the right thing to do. So because if I was left-handed and I was forced to switch over to my right, then I have to force my children too. No, that's not what it should be. So protect the child from shame, okay? And avoid using those words that will only bring shame. Instead, you should say, that's okay, you are fine. If someone interjects and say, hey, you're letting that child disrespect you by using your left hand. No, that is not disrespectful. That child is actually doing what comes natural to them. Disrespect is actually forcing the child to do what does not come natural to them. So,
well, Dr. Kilo, there is a hand that has been up for about 5 minutes, and without breaking your train of thought, I thought we should call on Dr. Bitazan to pose her question or make her comment, and then we'll continue from there. Dr. Kilo, are you okay?
That's fine.
Dr. Bitazan, please, your hand has been up for a while.
Okay, Niason, just a minute, Dr. B. Are you guys hearing Dr. Kilo clearly? Because from my end, I'm hearing some statics. Maybe it's from my end. Is she coming through clearly?
Yes, she is coming through clearly.
Okay, then it's my computer. All right, no problem.
So, Dr. Bitazan, unmute and ask your question or you make your comment.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question. I'll comment later on. But Dr. Kilo, thank you so much for just talking about these special children. I just wanted to understand. I don't know if you've done some research or if you've kind of dug in and found out why we come from a culture where we find fault with left-handedness or when a child is behaving differently. And I'm not talking about things that are like completely, I'm just talking about, like you said, maybe using the hand or how their brain functions and so on. Do you have any background? Like what is it that parents have against that makes them so antsy when they see a child just trying to express themselves in their natural, in the way that comes naturally to them?
Absolutely. That is a fantastic question. Okay. So here's the thing. It goes back to history. In order for you to know where you're going, you have to understand where you came from. It's that historical piece that we are lacking. And it is very necessary to understand the depth of the history and how that damage was done to us. I have to take you back as far back as colonization and slavery in order for you to understand this, the reason why we as a collective people have challenges with that. Okay. Now, let's start with the word left-handed. In order to describe a group of people who wrote with their left hand, society back in the days used the terminology sinister. That was deemed to be something bad. Keep in mind, as human beings, whoever dictates what you get born into society, that becomes the prevalent or the dominant trend of thought. Let me give you an example. And we use handedness because there were many right-handed people. So everything was made to be right-handed. That meant to society then that this is the normal thing to happen. Whatever normal means, I have no idea. But anyway, that was deemed to be normal. When people who were left-handed started coming into the world, that was seen as different. Human beings in general, once something is different, when we don't know something, when we don't understand it, what's the first thing we do? We stigmatize it. That by nature is a coping strategy. I want us to understand that because that will help us when we meet people who are very reluctant in accepting certain group of people. Okay. So when left-handedness came in, society did not understand what neurological difference meant. We just knew one type of neurological variation. Right-handedness, that's it. That's all we knew. And so when left-handed people came, they were deemed as, oh, because this is different, it had to be bad. We don't have much knowledge or understanding of this group of people. And so they started classifying left-handed people as disabled, low intelligence, low IQ. Keep in mind, if you look anything like me, if you ask that question and you look like me, trust you me, our great, 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 great grand did not have access to information. All we knew was that we were under a group of people that told us that this is bad. We took it and we flew with it. Now, what was the coping mechanism for us? Our coping mechanism was to hide those children. Technically, that was what we used, the word hide. But typically, what we were doing was protecting. Okay? That has passed on from generation to generation to generation. Remember, I mentioned we, majority of the times, parent from memory. It's been passed down. I saw my mother do this, and so I do it. My mother saw her mother do this, so she does it. My mother's mother saw her mother do this, and so you see how that's going. That word sinister became linked with left-handedness. But over the years, the definition of the word sinister changed. So sinister became equivalent to bad. It carried on over the years. But the true meaning of why that word came was to describe someone who was left-handedness. You see how things got lost in translation? Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Tilo. Appreciate your time.
You're most welcome. So make sure when we're speaking to children who are left-handedness, we need to tell them that God made them this way and it's okay. We're all different. We all have a neurological difference. Every one of us, we're not wired the same. Now, in terms of approaching certain things, yes, there's certain, we know that right-handed people, of course, it's the left brain, that wiring is the same. But of course, there's certain areas that when we of how we do things, it's going to be different. Okay. Explain to the child that left-handedness is not something that they need to be ashamed of. Talk to the teachers, talk to the caregivers. They should not have to force the child to change hands. No. Listen, if God did not think that the left hand was very pertinent to us in society, he would not have given it to us. As a matter of fact, we would have just had two right hands. Each culture without harm. Children can learn to respect, they can learn to observe cleanliness, and they can also have or portray good manners. With still being left-handed, they don't have to be right-handed to do all these things. So we don't have to damage a child's development just because we are trying to force them to be left-handed. So for families of faith, I want to encourage and tell you that left-handedness, it's not sinful. It is not a curse. Neither is it rebellion. Children are created with differences. Some are tall, some are short, some are right-handed, some are left-handed. We see a lot of taboo things in our society and in our community. We were not the first one. Our culture takes longer, or our people, it takes us longer to be aware of some of these things. Once again, let's go back to history. What did you and your parents have access to? Because if your parents had access to that information, you wouldn't have that problem in the family. Keep in mind, the more difference comes into our DNA, the more we are going to try to understand it. The misinformation we see today in a lot of things that we see as challenges remains the same misinformation that was there as far back as even the biblical times. It's the same thing. We have different groups of, like I said, if you look anything like me, there was a time when they thought people who look like me were what? Low IQ, inferior. So someone took it upon themselves to make their race superior and made my race inferior. I hadn't seen people that look like me. And so when they travel, they realize that, oh, other people on this earth. But wait, the color is different from ours. You know, one is this color and the other one is this color.
Yeah, right.
And so they're
But the
like,
first color you showed, is that really a color?
that's a good question.
And
And
there's
so
somebody that looks like the second color.
exactly, exactly. And so you see how that got divided. And over the years, you were taught to understand that one color was superior than another. And then we
Yes.
realized that, wait, we're just as smart and even smarter than this other group of people. Hey,
Yes.
we're not different. And now we're fighting. Look how many years we've been fighting for that. You have other people who are going to fight for that right as well. We're still fighting. It's been how many years? And you and I are still fighting. You're going to have people who are left-handedness who fought. It took a lot of awareness. It took a lot of awareness. That was actually a category. In the past, do you know left-handed people were not allowed in public schools? They didn't have that. Yes, left-handed people were not allowed in public schools. Right here in the country that you sit in, right here, it wasn't allowed. They weren't allowed to go to school, in public school. They had a separate type of school for them because they were left-handed. See how? But over the years, awareness has been raised. And guess what?
Amen.
Come to better understand. We must do the same for the other things. We have to raise the same awareness and educate our people. Okay? So acceptance is not abandoning one's culture. It is protecting children's well-being. So accepting left-handed children, you're not betraying your culture. No, you're not. You're showing the diversity in which your culture.
Doctor, can I ask a
Wonderful.
question?
We'll come to you, Dr. Martha. Dr. Josue's hands was up early. And
Real
then
quick,
we'll
I'm
go to
just gonna
Dr.
finish
Martha.
this. Okay. So I'm at the
Yeah.
last point. So let me go ahead and finish that, and then we take all the questions. Okay.
Okay.
So parents, let me encourage you that your child's hand was never the problem, and it's still not the problem. It is the stigma, the shame, the fear, and the lack of understanding that are the problem. So when you allow your child to develop naturally, you build their confidence, you protect their mental health, you improve learning, and you strengthen your relationship with that child. So let's move from correction to understanding, from fear to knowledge, and from shame to support. Every child deserves to grow up feeling that I am normal, I am accepted, and I am capable. And to close out, I would like to encourage my Christians that my brothers and sisters in the Bible verse, my brothers and sisters, believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ must not show favoritism. That is James 2:1. So if you ever feel different, this is to anyone who feels different in any form or fashion. And that's because you have been told and made to feel that way, specifically my lefties. Okay. If you ever feel different, remember you are not flawed, you are fashioned. And if you meet someone who seems
Awesome.
different from you, see them as God does, wonderfully made.
Yes.
I was born in a time where being left-handed was not a good thing. And so I remember when this hand had to be wrapped. Oh, when I
Oh,
raised this hand, I got that. I had to learn to use my right. And over the years, when I braid hair, the girls who ask me, "Are you left-handed?" I'm like, why? They're like, because you braid like a lefty. Do you know why? When I do grocery, the heavy bag gets carried on my left hand. You want to guess why?
mhm. It's the strongest hand.
Absolutely. That's the dominant hand.
The dominant hand.
Mhm.
There we go. So I ended up becoming ambidextrous. But a lot of times I make fun of it. And I told my parents one day, I'm like, yeah, I'm just one confused girl. See, I'm just totally messed up in the head. That's why I do crazy things every now and then. But but yes, these are some of the things. And you have people who are adults and still remember what they had to go through, the challenges they had to go through. So I want you to remember that, okay? That you are wonderfully made, irrespective of what hand
Wonderful.
you are using. Thank you for listening. And thank you for loving your children enough to come here and learn. Thank you.
Wow. Dr. Kilo, that was powerful. And I'm glad we were able to let you get through your explanation. I did not realize, many times I've been on the continent for over 20 years, and it has always been, dealt with uncleanliness. I had never heard about the disrespect that the left hand presents. So now I am equipped, and we did have some questions before we get to the top of the hour. We want to hear from Dr. Jose, if he has any questions or comments concerning what we've just heard today. Then we'll come to Dr. Martha, and then we will come to the rest of our guests. We want to welcome our Chief Medical Officer, Chief Dr. Agoji. We're so glad that he has taken time between delivering babies to be with us at this time. Dr. Jose.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Pam, Ms. Sparks. You guys are awesome. And Dr. Kilo, I am a neuropsychiatrist, a child neuropsychiatrist. I'm in Lowell. So I appreciate what you're saying. Look, I've gone through the same thing. I was born in the Bahamas. I'm left-handed. When I went to Haiti, now, Dr. Kilo, I never realized why they forced us with the right hand. So I'm glad you're talking about these things. Luckily for me, I was not punished, but so now I can write with both hands. But
Wow.
I'm glad you're saying that because, by the way, do you know the last 7 U.S. presidents have been left-handed? Obama, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan. All of them were left-handed. But thank you. And the other thing I want to tell you, Dr. Kilo, so I want to talk to you about a software we have that can help parents who want to teach their kids. That's for neurodivergent. They call it interactive metronome. I have it in my clinic. That can also learn kids, those of us who want to, who are left-handed, writing with right hand. That's one of the, but it helps with autism, ADHD, and stuff like that. But anyway, but thanks for your awesome presentation. And what I'll leave with last, parents, is really acceptance, self-compassion to teach our kids, to teach ourselves, then we can accept the best part of our culture. But thank you, Dr. Pam, all of you guys who have created this awesome platform. Thank you.
Let me just Josue was ambidextrous. I honestly did not know. And like I said, announced last Sunday, I've been working with Ambassador Lisa for 100 years. I didn't know she was. I just heard the word lefty today. Yeah, I cannot shake somebody's hand with my left. I can't even give. Do something. That's how we grew up in Cameroon. Dr. Jose, I'm going to put you in touch with Dr. Kilo, just so you know, both of you are going to be on the same panel in Accra.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Kilo is an autism expert. That's her expertise, just so you know. So but both of you, if you go on our link online, you will see her there, and both of you are going to be on the panel. So you'll be in Accra, you get to meet each other. So I'll connect you guys. So let me hand back to the uncles. I think Dr. Mata is next.
Please,
good evening, everyone, and accept greetings from the UK.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I listen to Dr. Kilo speak, it is like she's playing tapes about my life.
Wow.
Because I got so emotional thinking of the POP that I carried on my right hand, my left hand, sorry, at the age of 4 up to 6, and the rules or restrictions that I had to follow. It is really draining, and I really blame this on ignorance, because even at this level, I've confronted my father. You see, when we say education is very important, if I hadn't gone to school to learn about the effects of this switch from a left-handedness to right-handedness, I wouldn't have even understood how much it affects the hemisphere, how much it affects my functionality. Now I have a daughter who is left-handed, and I am so protective of her. I ensure that I ask her questions. Has anybody ever mentioned that you should switch your hand or anything? She said no, and I am very happy. At least in schools here in the UK, they cannot do that to her. Everything that you mentioned, from stuttering, I stutter. I am ambidextrous. Not only that, I am very creative. I'm a poet. And I write novels. I've not published any novel yet, but I'm a published poet. And I have this fear in me of making mistakes. And I have very excellent problem-solving skills. And I'm very, very flexible in language development. I am an English teacher. I was trained in a teacher training college. I became an English teacher for many years. So I understand a lot what we go through. The stereotypes, the stigma, sometimes name calling, and even more. In school, sometimes my mates will make fun of me when I try to switch. I'll try to check if my parents are there. If they are not at home, there are things I want to do with my right hand. I will steal a minute to do them. So like eating, I eat with both hands, because if I'm eating with the left hand and they're looking at me, I have to switch. But every other thing, like cooking, if I'm slicing, everything is done with my left hand. I write with both hands, but my right hand, but I write better with my right hand. On the blackboard, I write same with both hands. So I have this question for Dr. Kilo. Reading about left-handedness, I came to realize that it is not only caused by genetics, but developmental and environmental factors, that is nature and nurture effects. What do you have to say about this? Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Martha, thanks for sharing your story, and you're brave. You're brave. So thank you, thank you. And I hate the fact that you had to go through that. And I know you still think of the memories from there. It definitely is still there. And your story isn't one that I haven't heard before. I've heard this from a lot of adults who still get emotional as to what they have had to go through. And I am glad that you are teaching your child to be a better advocate for herself by advocating for her. So you're modeling that. And thank you for doing that. And to answer your question as to the environmental things, yes, absolutely. Now, because genetic is the predominant, and they were able to pinpoint genetics as a lot of times the world of science, even though they can research, we can't pinpoint that one particular thing and say, okay, well, you know what? It is this, maybe this a cookie, or maybe this, but I'm just making an example. It could be this one particular thing that is prompting the left-handedness to come in. There's still questions that we have to answer and that we still don't know. But yes, there are biological factors. We don't know which one in particular. And there are also environmental factors as well. All of this happens, all they know is that this change in wiring typically happens when the child is in utero. Whatever will delay brain development will delay the process of hand dominance. It could also be a factor in determining which could become the dominant because of those aspects. But to pinpoint specifically, I know for sure that genetics remains the primary one that has been focused on. Okay. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, before we go on the break, I see Dr. Bitazon's hand is up again. I know she has had an opportunity, but I think it must be a pressing question. Oh, okay. All right. Apparently, we're going to have the anthem before we continue.
No, she can ask a question while I'm trying to bring the anthem. And then Dr. Tazon, we have too many doctors on this line. Dr. Kilo will respond to it. Dr. Kilo, that's a good problem. Dr. Kilo will respond to it when we come. So she can ask the question while I'm
Dr. Bitazon, ask your question while we prepare the anthem.
Okay. I actually was going to make a comment just as a follow-up to the question I asked. I just wanted to throw it out there because I think it's something that, because we have been forced to get out of the environment in which we grew up, and we've been forced to adjust to a lot of things, we have also been forced to change our mindsets about a lot of things. And it's reminding me now, I think I'm speaking for a lot of people that have grown up in a lot of the African context. We are generally taught not to ask too many questions, just to be obedient, and obedience is very important. But I think it's really important to ask questions. There's a reason why we should ask questions. I think that's part of what has stifled our growth as a people. If somebody that doesn't ask questions is not curious. Curiosity yields a lot of answers. I think a lot of times we have a lot of things in our minds about what we think is right and what is wrong, or what is good and what is bad. Or we've inherited all these ideas and we don't even know the source of the ideas. Some of them are driven by fear, some of them are driven by poverty, some are driven by shame, and so many other things that are not even justifiable. And so I am teaching myself and I'm requesting other people to be open to asking questions and to be open to answering questions. If you're doing something, you should be able to explain why you're doing it. Say, okay, I learned it from my parents, but I always ask my parents, like, why were they doing this, by the way? Because I have trouble understanding why it's being done. So now if I see something and I'm like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, the first question I want to ask is, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? How does it enhance our existence as human beings? How does it allow us to blossom as human beings? And I think that we should be open to answering those questions to other people, and we should be open to asking those questions at all times. Because sometimes it helps us identify bad habits that we've copied from generations, habits that are completely unreasonable and maybe even ridiculous. But we keep handing them down, and then we use them to enforce things on people that don't make any sense. So I think in asking those questions, we get answers, and it helps to guide us in which way we should go. If you realize that, well, my great grandmother was doing this because she didn't have enough money to buy this, and now God has blessed you and you have resources, why are you continuing to do the same thing? Absolutely no reason. Or because they were ashamed. Why are you ashamed? And I think we need to be clear about what is shameful and what is not. Shameful is when you're doing things that are out of line, things that are inappropriate, things that are harmful or hurtful to yourself or to other humans, things that violate your human dignity. But just to be ashamed of who you are as a person, and I have to deal with that even in my clinic with my patients, just about skin color, about illnesses and so on. People come in and I'm like, do you know you didn't even have a choice here? You didn't even choose who your parents were. You didn't choose what nation you were going to be born in. So those things that I had no say in, I refuse to be ashamed. If somebody is upset about it, that is their problem, not mine, because I did not have any choices in this matter, and you did not either. And I think we need to start learning to differentiate those things. Yeah, there are things that are inappropriate. We should be ashamed of those because we are violating other people's and our own well-being. But things that are just natural phenomena, natural variations of the human being, we need to start encouraging people, stop being so afraid, stop being so ashamed. What are you protecting? You did not determine this. This is something that happened to you and you have to deal with it. And I think it helps us to not only grow, but to also learn to accept other people and to help them become better people. Because like you said, when you stifle somebody's natural abilities, you stifle their own area of gifting. And that's why I'm asking, for example, Africans and Black people, we are very talented, but sometimes we don't even express it because we have hidden so much of our stuff. We don't have enough artists. We don't have enough, and the ones that have it, people make fun of them. If I have a child who wants to be an artist right now, my whole thing is, I want you to be the best artist in the world. I want you to be a Van Gogh. Because why is there that kind of Van Gogh, and why don't we have one? Do you think they have a better brain than us or better skill set? No. We are stifling our children because we feel like, oh, this is not glorious enough, it's not going to make enough money, and it's not going to do this, it's not going to bring enough of that. When that person, if they excel in their area of gifting, they will be able to rake in more than the average person will ever do. So I think we should start asking questions. We should start pushing for explanations of why things are being done the way they are, especially when they don't really make sense or when they're really taking away from people's natural abilities. And we should start personally encouraging and allowing people to express themselves, again, as long as it's within the limits of human integrity. Because I know sometimes people like to push that far out there. So as long as it's within the limits of human integrity, and again, respecting our bodies, our lives, ourselves, and our gifting, we should stop being afraid, ashamed, or letting other people determine how we look at ourselves or how we express our giftings.
Thank you, Dr. Bitaza. I think the anthem is ready to go now. We'll be right back, please.
Yeah, Miss Kimberly, we'll get to you when we come back. We're playing our anthem. Ambassador Lisa, you want to say anything before we play the anthem?
No, I was just going to tell the rest of our viewers that after the anthem, we will come back. And if you have a question or a comment that you'd like to ask our guests, to please put your virtual hand up so we can see it, and be prepared to come in with your comment. Thank you.
Yeah, and everybody will get a chance to speak. It's our airtime, so nobody's kicking off the air.
Oh, Africa. Oh no, Africans for Africa, 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 Africans have many bright ideas.
Okay, that should be me then.
If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans. Africans. Let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans, if we believe medical facilitation for Africans, if we believe stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle Jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own Africa.
No more lies. Africans own Africa. That is our anthem, written by our very own CEO, Her Royal Highness, Reverend Dr. Pam. And we own full rights to this song, and it is ours. We can play it as much as we want, whenever we want, and we don't have to worry about copyright infringement. Nia-san, Reverend Pam, what is the topic for next week?
Yes, that's Ambassador Lisa's favorite song in the whole wide world. Next week, Miss Kimberly, we're going to come to you right after the announcement. Next week, we are going to be discussing Black Health Matters. It's the last Sunday of the month. For the last 10 years, we have discussed a medical topic every last Sunday of the month.
So Black Health Matters. I'm sure we will have our Chief Medical Officer, Chief Dr. Agoji, on. I can't see what's going on over there because I'm on my phone, but I'm sure we will have some experts on and we will be talking about Black Health Matters. And in the way of
Can
announcements
you
as
guys hear
well.
me, Ambassador Lisa?
No, we keep losing you.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but I need a new laptop. But real quick, like I said, we're not limiting it to high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. You know, our people can stay away from fried chicken. Ambassador Lisa, I don't know if you eat the skin of a fried chicken or not. I don't, but you know, so we're gonna talk any Black health matter. So Dr. Goji can talk about babies, deliveries, whatever. Dr. Bitazon can talk about dermatology, lifestyle medicine, whatever she wants. Dr. Jose. Oh, by the way, Dr. Jose, Dr. Plasticity. As soon as I thought about you, you know.
Yes. So look, I want to talk about how do we wire, like Dr. Kilo was saying. Everything we're saying here is that how do we wire the brain? Guys, we have the science. We have the science how to create positive habit behaviors. It's not easy to do, but we know how to do. We have the science. So that's why I'll be contributing.
Awesome.
What environment and how do we form habits and behaviors to maintain our health, our wealth, and our community? But thank you.
Thank you. So next Sunday, we are discussing Black Health Matters. So Ambassador Lisa, Ania Song, Sister Kimberly had her hand up, and I will go on mute because my computer is misbehaving.
Thank you. Okay, we're back talking about left-handedness and what parents need to know as far as child development is concerned. And Sister Kim, welcome from upstate New York. Your question and or comment.
I just want to say thank you so much, Prophetess Lisa, and to the guests who spoke today. I have just been so inspired by the conversation and the encouragement. I remember 20 years ago when I was raising my young children and went to a doctor. The doctor says, this label. And then I sought help, and I had a lot of family members who thought that I was making the wrong decision by getting help for my children. And I just look back, I always remember the scripture, Genesis 50, where it says, you know, it was meant to harm you, but God meant it for your good. And so I look back now. I never told my children that you have this label or that label because I didn't believe in that. I just believed in, you know, when you have children, you see their gifts very early on and you just cultivate and nurture those gifts, regardless of what anyone says. And when my children walk through the doors of MIT or Stanford, I can say, well, you know, the guilt sort of goes away because I said, well, you always self-doubt yourself. Did I make the wrong decision by seeking the help? But because I sought the help, they got a lot of extra support and help to get them on their way. And a lot of the things that I guess from our lack of knowing wrong teachings, I've just never felt that telling children they're limited by a label. And that's all. I just wanted to add that perspective. And I know your focus today has been on the younger children, but I'd love to speak to someone about the adults when they get into the adult years. How do you support them? Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Kim. We appreciate your comments. Anyone else would like to have a comment? I see, let's see, Dr. Crosland is here, General Muti. Let's hear from Chief Dr. Agoji while he is here, because there may be a baby about to be delivered somewhere, and we want to grab him before he has to go catch a baby. Dr. Agoji, we're glad to see you.
You cannot hear me? Okay, interesting.
Now we can hear you. Just went back off. Now we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you, Dr. Goji.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. You can hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay. So talk about left-handedness. Well, all I know is that in Africa, when growing up, it was found out. We try to make people change from left to right-handed. But in my culture, the problem is not just changing. We only focus about greetings, shaking someone with the right hand, and offering people things with your right hand. That's what is found out. And then plus eating too. So eating, greeting, and offering stuff with right hand, where the people found out eat, but otherwise, right to your left hand is not found out. Doing stuff around the house with left hand is not found out. So that's what I observed growing up. And one of my siblings was left-handed. He's still left-handed till today, but they have to make him to greet people with the right hand, make it eat with his right hand, and make it offer people things with the right hand. So I don't know if why you should force people to write with their right hand. No, I think you should write with what makes you comfortable. After all, one of my other siblings fractured his right hand as a young man. He had learned how to write with his left hand. It became an advantage that he uses both hands equally. So I don't know why we do those things, but basically in Africa it's viewed as disrespectful for you to greet somebody with your left hand. Offers people things with their left hand, but they don't like it. I think not a matter of force is a part of education, use your left hand as much as you can. But things like shaking hands, offering things should be done with your right hand. I'm not sure if that's going to affect the brain as much as you suggested, if you just change a few things like greeting, offering food, and eating. So I don't know. Dr. Kilo may shed more light if that three things can change things.
Absolutely, Dr. Gorgi. Thanks for the question and the comment. And so when I did the presentation, one thing I wanted to make sure that we were able to distinguish between was things that are daily tasks versus what are cultural and customary norms to us. Our custom when it comes to respect is to greet the elders with the right hand. And so, yes, it is okay to teach your customs and culture to your child based on where you are. That is okay. What poses a challenge is when we have to force the child to do something that on a consistent basis for extended periods of time, when they have to do something that does not come natural to them. Yes, greeting with the right may not be something that will come natural in the beginning, but yes, when we slightly correct them, and once again, we're going back to customs and tradition and culture, then we can do that. But from what I understand, unless you're constantly having, if I had to put it this way, most of the times, if you think about it, you're growing up back home, how many times did you extend your hand to greet your elders? It didn't happen too often. If you think about it, let's go back. It didn't happen that often because when that uncle and auntie came, what did you do? There we go. Absolutely. See that? So the frequency for that wasn't there. So that will not necessarily impact to the extent we're having to force the child in the classroom to switch hands and to change that hand versus even children who grew up in the royal palace. I don't think they greet the chief every day, every minute, with how you going to greet with your hand. So it's the same. I just wanted to make sure that we distinguish those two things. Okay.
Yes, growing up in my days in my village in Lewa, in Bangwa country, I know that we wanted children to use the right hand. It was more for the need to respect the elders than any other thing. But one thing we prevented children from doing with the left hand was taking or giving something, especially money. You don't give money to somebody with the left hand, you give it with the right hand. Show some respect. Even today, one of my sons asked me about a month or two ago why I asked him to give something to somebody with the right hand. I said it's just show of respect.
Gotcha. Okay, let me jump in here, anchors. I put it. Everybody. There is a question that is burning inside me, but I'll wait till we get the others who have not contributed, Dr. Crosslin and General Muti. After that, my hands have been up. Ambassador Lisa Niasong, my hand is hurting me because you guys neglected my hands. So after them, I must ask this question. This is what prompted this show. Over to you guys.
Okay. General Muti, do you have a comment?
Yes, to first unmute.
You're muted. Please kindly unmute.
General Muti, please unmute. We don't know if it's your name or it's the name of your device. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
There you go. All right. Yes, I have several comments. I want to Dr. Kilo, first and foremost, if you was born in America, they would really kill you about your name. Just teasing you about your name, because it has a whole other connotation in America.
Kilo,
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly. My comments is mostly I want to try to expand the dialogue and try to be more specific. Because I think specificity is important. I've heard multiple comments and sort of people are like skirting around it. I want to go straight to the source. Much of what we're talking about, this so-called left-handedness, once you understand the science, we realize that most of this stuff is nonsense. Once you got the science, and science dictates who's going to be left-handed and who's going to be right-handed. And so all the other stuff is just nonsense. But to be more specific, the much of in continental Africa, much of that comes from the Arabs in Arab imperialism and Arab colonialism, or as I like to say, cancerism. And Europe, and then after them, the Europeans with their colonialism and their, cancerism, and their superstitions. Both of whom came were heavily religious people, or came with religiosity, and they brought their superstitions with them, and they imposed them on us after they dominated us and subjugated us, and as a result, that came to us with America. Those of us who was kidnapped and taken off to America, and we deal with that. We're still dealing with that to this very day in 2026. Much of the European, we dealt more so after dealing with Arab subjugation. We had to deal with European subjugation. And for Europeans, if you study the so-called Dark Ages, in the Dark Ages, they were so superstitious that they thought that left-handedness was wickedness. So much so that many of the knights would, if a child was trying to use their left hand, they would punish the child, sometimes even at death, sentence them to death for using their left hand. And most of them in Europe, they were untrusting of one another, so that when they shook hands, the so-called custom of shaking hands came from Europeans, because they didn't trust each other. And most of them fought with their right hands. So if they shook hands, they know the person couldn't take their sword and chop their head off. But it was foolish again, because the assumption is that you can't use your left hand to have a dagger and kill somebody with the left hand. So clearly we see that there was, if for lack of a better word, one brain-sidedness, because they really wasn't thinking, but they was just thinking with one side of their brain, and it didn't allow them to be balanced in brain and mind. For me, growing up personally, my mother had 9 children. Her first child, her oldest child, was left-handed. And my mother, being the dynamic woman that she was, she learned very quick what not to do and what to do, irrespective of what this white supremacist society in which we live in was telling her. She made mistakes by forcing her first child to write with her right hand and punished the child, my sister Cynthia. But then after that, she said, oh, that didn't work. And so 3 children later, she had another left-handed child. She let them be left-handed. And then another child later, she had another left-handed child. She let them be left-handed. So she learned pretty quick. what works and what doesn't work. So for some of us, we understand it, and I probably caught some of that because I'm ambidextrous simply because I trained myself to be so. Because I've always taken the position that there was nothing wrong with left-handedness. For me, particularly as it translates into sports, a person that can dribble with both hands is better than somebody that can dribble with one hand, or a person that can. One thing we haven't talked about is left-footedness too, because a lot of times that happens as well. A person, their dominant foot is the left foot or the right foot, and so I've trained myself to be both, and I do it constantly, and the ultimate compliment somebody gave me one time on the basketball court was, cut off his left hand. He's only left-handed. And they don't know how big they made my head swell up when they say that, because that's all I was working to do, is use my left hand proficiently, and at the same time not really knowing, I gave myself a balanced mind. So I just think that when we have this discussion, we need to be specific about the devastating effect of Arab and European colonialism and imperialism, and how, because we wound up under their domination, our cultures had, through the process of acculturation, had alien cultures superimposed in them, and many of them had these real vicious superstitions, and we picked those superstitions up. It's only those of us who engaged in Sankofa, that is, go back and fetch it, who knew how we was living before we came into contact with them, that we stopped doing these things, because these things are not healthy for us, especially when we know the science, and we've always been a people of science.
Wow. Thank you so much, Janamuti. Let me just piggyback to something you said, Janamuti, before the anchors go to the next person. When you talked about left-footedness, that has never crossed my mind, even when we're talking about this show. I see Dr. Ogoji shaking his head, but what that brings to mind, I don't know how many of you watched the African Nations Cup. The 26-year-old that scored the goal, a goal that was clearly a goal, used his left foot and scored that goal and gave Senegal the cup. That's what came to my mind when you said that. So I just wanted to mention that before we go to Dr. Crossley.
Excellent. Excellent.
So Dr. Crossley, okay.
Sure. So I just want to thank you, Her Excellency, Dr. Pam Fomenong, for this platform. I want to thank Prophetess Lisa for always being here and coming up with great ideas, and to Professor Niasan for always having a daily inspirational of what's going on around the world, for the Sundays that we are on, and to the global audience. And respectfully to our keynote speaker, Dr. K, that's what I will call her.
Hello.
Yeah. It's okay.
I want to say hello to Dr. Joshua, the brain doctor. And I'm glad that he and Dr. K will be working together to help children. And to Dr. Goji, have you delivered any babies since last week?
He's muted.
Yes. Almost every week, I deliver 1 or 2 babies, almost every week.
Just teach them to be ambidextrous.
Yes.
Don't teach them anything.
Good for you.
And speaking of ambidextrosity, if that's a word, when we go shopping, everything pretty much is for right-handed people, like the cashier, when you put your money in there, everything, CVS, everything is pretty much like scissors, makeup, a lot of things. And so driving a car, here in America, everything's, pretty much for right-handed people. So I understand everyone's frustration. Thank you so much.
Okay, I got to do this, and I'm glad it's our...
You broke up.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Go ahead now. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, Dr. Kilo, you cannot get off this show without sharing that testimony. You shared a powerful testimony about being in the operating room and having to take over from a left-handed surgeon. Please share that. My body was shaking. I had goosebumps everywhere. Please kindly take a moment and share that experience before we take our round of the table. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's what I shared. So I was a medical student and I was doing my clinical rotations at that time. I was doing surgery at Far Rockaway in New York. And the chief resident at that hospital where we were doing a program or where I was doing my clinical rotation was a lefty. And that morning I show up, had to be in clinic at 4 a.m. was the time I was scheduled to be in the hospital. So my journey I lived in Brooklyn, and my journey pretty much started at 2 o'clock in the morning because it took me that long by train to get to Far Rockaway. And I get there right when rounds were getting over. And as soon as I walked into the room, they were like, "Oh, you got chosen to do surgery." I was like, "No, I wanted to sleep." Yeah. What? Then I go to the next round. And so I got chosen to be one of the students who was going to assist at that particular surgery. And so, did the necessary, went into surgery with the chief resident. There were two of us who were students who were chosen for that particular case. I happened to be one of them. And of course we stood around, by the operating table, and he's going through the entire process teaching. So we're teaching and we're learning at the same time. And right when the surgery was done, he started closing up the patient, and the chief resident said, "Hey, we had done a month of sutures." And so he was like, "Okay, you know how to do this. I think I can leave the rest for you guys." So he did the lower layer, and the top two layers was left for us to do. And he looked at me, he's like, "You, next." I was like, "Oh, and I came up there and, stood in place as usual over the body. And of course, the surgical tech, she's like, "Wait, you didn't tell us you were going to have a student to do this because I only prepared." I'm just giving you her words. She was like, "You didn't tell us you're going to have a student do this part because we only prepared the left hand kit." And he was like, "Well, we'll get the right hand kit, but she's going to do it." And the surgical tech was like, "Oh man, this is wasting my time." And I said, "Hey, you could pass me the needle." And she was like, "Well, this is a left-handed needle." I'm like, "Yes, pass me the left-handed needle." She was like, "Okay, well, do what you can. Let me go get the right-handed kit." Pass me the needle, and I sutured. The chief resident, he stood right when he was about to exit the OR. He turned around and saw me, and he was like, "She using her left hand?" I said, "Yes." He walked out of the OR ungowned, stood at the mirror, and he was watching. So the glass, and he was watching, and he used the microphone. He's like, my name then wasn't DeFortune, and so he said, "Upton DeFortune, are you left-handed?" I said, "I guess. I don't know." And he said, "But you're using your left hand." I said, "Well, yes, I can use my left hand." And he said, "Are you left-handed?" I'm like, "No, I'm not left-handed." "But you're using your left hand." I said, "I know." And so by then I completed the next layer. I completed that top layer. Now the final layer. By this time, the surgical nurse, they hadn't prepped for a right-handed tip. So they had to get one to be brought down to the OR. So they're waiting. And I continued. they passed me another needle and I used it with my left hand and I just kept going and I was doing my work. Yeah, they brought the right hand kit, kept the needle, handed it to me. That was the tricky part, believe it or not. Because I had to go on the other side of the table and do the suture with my right hand. And so when I started doing my right hand, the surgical tech was like, "Good grief, he's ambidextrous." And I turned around and told the chief resident was still there observing. And I said, "Well, I guess I'm both." And he was like, "Wow, we've never had an ambidextrous student in here for surgical rotation." And so ever since then, I got called into every procedure. No matter what kit was thrown into that room, I can use either one.
But Dr. Kilo, this did not happen by accident. There was your story growing up that prepared you for that moment in the OR. Can you take a moment and share that?
Yeah. So keep in mind, being left hand dominant, they had to wrap the left hand. Okay. And so I had to learn to use my right hand. That was the only way I was going to be accepted to go back to that primary school, was because they had to wrap the left one since I constantly used it for everything. And that was not acceptable. And so during that process, I learned to use the right. But every now and then, of course, in certain things which I didn't pay attention to, I would use my left hand, unbeknownst to me. I went to secondary school, in boarding school, and I carried my bucket the most part with my left hand. But then, because of what I knew was being wrong with left, I would switch it to my right hand and go up the hill with it because for some it was just reflex because you get yelled at, so you just know, oh, got to do it the right way. And so that definitely built that skill for me without me knowing that I was actually training myself to become ambidextrous. And that carried on over the years. And it came in handy at that moment when I had to be in surgery and I used my left hand. I started with the lefty kit and was able to switch to the right and did phenomenal with it. And it also happened one day when I was taking down notes in class. I had my two classmates next, and I was writing with my right hand. And it got so tired because my right hand, the pen was pressed so hard on here that it hurt. So I had to change hands. And I didn't even think about it. It just came from nowhere. And I turned my book over and and I started writing. And my two classmates next to me, they're like, the one on the left looked at me, he started laughing. He's like, "You're left-handed?" I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "But you're using your left hand. You're writing." I said, "Well, I guess." Like, I'm just writing. He's like, "But you're using your left hand." And I'm like, "Well, I guess that's what it is." And so that's what I used. And I wrote with my left hand. So I actually wrote a note at work, one with my left hand, and I repeated the exact same statement. I wrote it with my right hand. I took it to my coworkers and I showed them. I told them to tell me which one was the left hand and which one was the right hand. All three of them picked my left hand. They labeled it as my right hand, and I asked them why. Because they said the left hand writing was very neat, and it was legible. My right hand writing, I need OT for that. Okay, it's a scratch. You can scratch.
Wow.
And so when I write at work, when I have to fill out notes, and if I have to handwrite it, everything has to be in caps if you're going to be able to read it. Because if it's not in caps, you can't read it.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Kilo. And here, song, we need to take a round. We extended the show. But that testimony was so powerful, that story, because you were born left-handed. And we're hoping that parents would learn a lot from this show. So Nia Song, let's hand over to you for the last round.
Yes, please. Dr. Crossley, I always pick on you first. So please unmute and give us your last word.
Oh,
Please.
yes. So, again, thank you so much, Dr. Pam Bomalong, for this platform, Ambassador Prophetess Lisa, and to you, Professor Niasan, to the keynote speaker, Dr. Goji, Dr. Joshua, and all the other doctors, and to the global audience, and to myself. Thank you all for being here today. And I eat with both hands, left and right. Thank you.
Dr. Joshua, please, can you unmute and give us your last word?
Thank you for everyone, Dr. Kilo. I need to get in touch with you. Let me tell you guys. So, as I was listening, I was doing things with both hands. But what I want to hope that what we're talking about, when I was doing residency, I had an epiphany, and I said, we need brain science research centers for behavior in the African countries. That's what I'm hoping we can do because yes, we learn neurology, we learn the technical aspect of medicine, but I'm hoping one of the things I think why Haiti and Africa is not further along is because we need brain science research centers to teach us about behavior, all these things that we're talking about. It would be good to have neuroscience research centers where everyone can come because, so, but thank you. I'm appreciative. I'm always amazed and I'm in awe with Black women. Okay. You guys can do great things. And that's why I will do anything because if you guys do well, then I'll do well too. But thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Okay? Thank you very much. Dr. Ogochi, did he disappear? Did he go into the theater to give birth to some new one?
Oh, no, Dr. Ogochi is not at the hospital. Dr. Ogochi, please kindly unmute yourself.
Yes. Dr. Ogochi, please, your last word.
Maybe you should go to Dr. B before coming back to him.
Okay, Dr. B.
Yourself.
Dr. B, your last word before we go back to Dr. Ogochi. Dr. B is not there either. Oh, no.
Hello.
Okay, there she is. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, no, I just wanted to say this was such a wonderful session. Thank you, Dr. Kilo. Thank you, every single person on the panel. It's just wonderful to learn and to grow and to just come into our own because we have been waiting for other people to bring us to a realization of ourselves, and it's about time. And so thank you to Africa's Brain Bank and Africa Online for making this happen. I hope that we'll continue to do even more things. Nobody's coming to our rescue. We've got to do it ourselves.
Sure, we have to. We're coming to 10 years in this practice. So please, Dr. Ogochi, are you on? Yeah, please unmute.
Dr. Ogochi, you need, okay.
Well, I really enjoyed the show. I learned about a lot of new things today, especially left foot. I didn't know there's left-footed, So, so every day I come here, I learn something new. And I really appreciate this platform, Reverend Pam and the two anchors, Prophetess and Anyason. Thank you very much, and all the audience. This is a place we come and learn new things.
Yes.
We educate ourselves. We tell ourselves the basic truth, the raw truth,
yes.
and take care of ourselves. So we tell our own story, our own way.
That's right.
Tell our story. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Prophetess. Ambassador Lisa, please, your turn.
Oh no, Dr. Foyabo is on before we go to Ambassador Lisa.
Oh, Dr. Foyabo is here. Okay, I didn't see her. Sorry.
That's
Dr.
because
Foyabo, you're welcome to the show. Give us your first and last word.
Yes, indeed. I'm sorry about that. I had another.
Okay.
I just barely jumped on. Thank you, the entire African Online team. You are the best, just getting the best to us. I would definitely be listening to Dr. Kilo's presentation as a replay. But I got a little bit at the end about the wrapping of the hand, and it reminded me of those days when they were putting bitter leaves and all whatnot onto people. My husband is ambidextrous. He's right and left. I have no idea what happened when he was younger. So I'm going to find that out after I read. He writes with his right hand, and then he eats with his left hand. But most things that he does, like housework and outside the yard work, it's left hand. So I have a feeling that it must have started as left-handed and was not encouraged. So he had to use his right hand. I had an experience with my dad when he visited me. I was pouring champagne. I had the champagne in my right hand and the glass was in my left hand. And then I poured it and I gave it to him just instinctively because that was the hand that had the glass and that was my left hand. And he looked at me. I said, "Is that what America is about?" It's a culture thing.
Yes,
It's
that's right.
regarded as disrespectful. But I
Yes.
got over it. But anyways, it's good to bring it to light. Many more people need to hear and know this. So thank you for bringing it, Dr. Kilo. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in today. So we're happy to have you. Now we go to Ambassador Prophetess.
Thank you, Nia Song, and to everyone here in the Zoom room and those of you who will be listening to the replay. This was a very interesting, informative conversation on left-handedness, child development, and what parents need to know. Like I said, we know that on the continent there are many reasons why they don't want children to be left-handed. Today I learned that it was about respect. I only knew about the hygiene part. But I'm so grateful for our speaker, Dr. Kilo, and to everyone who joined us today. Listen, Africa Online is here every Sunday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, we want you to like and subscribe to our pages and then join us here every Sunday for a variety of topics that benefit those on the continent and those of us here in the diaspora. I am your co-host, Prophetess Lisa Parks. To you, Nia Song.
Thank you very much. Your Highness, I think you take your turn before I take my turn and call on Dr. Kilo.
Agreed. Dr. Kilo, you truly rock. Yeah, your experience and your brains with our people in Accra on the continent. And we are here every Sunday. We discuss different topics. Just pop in anytime. I want to thank all our viewers again. Next month will make us 10 years on the air. And we have transformed lives. We've get any award, but lives have been transformed because of this program. And
what happened?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you kind of broke up at one point. Go ahead.
Nia, I don't think I'm the only one who needs a new laptop. I think you need one too. But anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Kilo. We did stream the link with everybody. I also recorded it because of some technical. And we wish everybody, I believe tomorrow is a holiday, a safe holiday, and I hope everybody enjoyed their Valentine's Day. Over to you, Nia. So next week we'll be discussing Black Health Matters.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kilo. It has been a great pleasure. And thank you for taking us through that walk, through the old times, through the Bible, and into colonization and today's world, because what was very important to me personally was the fact that you were able to get into the Bible, which I did also. And thank you very much for those quotes from Judges and the other book, James. Yes, thank you very much. And please, whatever it is, your last word before we go. Dr. Kilo.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, the entire team. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely look forward to sharing and learning as well, because it is a learning journey for me all the time. There's always something to learn, and I always learn something new that I didn't think of as well. So I am definitely glad to be part of this great team. And one thing I just wanted to add on real quick, just to piggyback on what Josue said, as well as General Muti. And I know you mentioned, this is some for Josue, you mentioned us building, or as a group of people, we need to learn to focus on facilities that promote behavior and how to understand the different behaviors that are being exhibited. Let me remind us as a people that we definitely don't need to learn to do those things. we were trained and we were forced to unlearn the things that came natural to us during colonization. I say this because from working in my field of expertise, what I learned was that the older generation seemed more equipped to address neurodivergent children. It was the generation that came after, which included my parents, that had challenges. And that is because by then they had been brainwashed from the whitewashing. And so that knowledge, what we have to do is go back to our old ways. So we have to unlearn and relearn.
That's true.
There's a reason why elders, according to our culture, we're the custodians of that culture. We have to go back to the elders. We have to sit down with them if we're going to implement things that are culturally relevant. We learned medicine. The textbook that I read and the textbook which some of you read in medical school only served one group of people.
Colonizers.
And so we're more likely to miss things and mislabel things in another group of people. So we have to relearn all of that in order to help our people thrive. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And I will be calling on the chair of Africa Online Media Corporation to bring back Dr. Kilo so that we can talk on the other cap that she's wearing, autism. Please let us see when we can schedule that. Thank you very much. And everyone, happy President's Day and enjoy the time, no matter how cold or hot it is in your part of the world. Thank you very much and bye.